How's that?
Let's see
All
your
right.
screen.
Looks good.
Okay. Yeah, normally here I'd put the location on the slides, but this conference is happening everywhere, I suppose, which sort of fits in with the theme of my talk. So yeah, data everywhere, opportunities and challenges for Enterprise MediaWiki. And again, my name is Yaron Koren. Happy April, everyone. Well, I can't move my slides forward, so I guess this is it.
You might need to make sure the focus is on that window.
Oh, whoa.
There you go.
Okay.
Wow.
Just giving everyone a moment to take that in. What do you see here? This is the obvious answer, well, somewhat obvious, is that this is a publicity photo from the 1987 American action thriller movie Predator. Someone who's interested in politics might note that there are two governors, future governors in this photo, Jesse Ventura and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Someone who's really into politics, or at least has read the Wikipedia articles, would also note that the guy on the second from right also ran for governor. Sonny Landham ran for governor of Kentucky, I guess on the theory that anyone from the cast of Predator could become a governor. Someone who's into botany might look at the vegetation in the background, and they might even be able to pinpoint where the location in Mexico where this movie was filmed. Someone who's a real film buff, I guess, might say, well, this happened to be taken on this particular date, and it means that it was done right before this scene was filmed, that sort of thing. And it goes on. So someone who's a weapons expert could look at all the weapons and note the authenticity of each of them. Someone who's into photography might be interested in what kind of camera and settings were done for this photo. Someone who's into licensing might wonder about the licensing aspects of it, whether it's open source, that kind of thing. So yeah, data is everywhere. I don't think I need to justify that statement too much. That was just one photo, and of course, we're surrounded by data everywhere we look, and different sets of it are important to different people. So no one repository, not even Wikidata, can hold more than a tiny fraction of it. I mean, Wikidata is obviously supposed to be, it is a massive store of data, but in terms of the overall amount of data in the world, it's always going to be just a tiny fraction. Similarly, no one dedicated software application can hold more than a tiny fraction. I'm not talking about things like Wikibase or Enterprise MediaWiki. I'm talking about all the rest of it, the software that's specific to one type of data. Enterprise MediaWiki, which is what we're talking about, is ideal software for lots of data. I'm not going to try to justify that statement too much. Hopefully, most people who are attending agree with that. But it supports any data structure, which means that it can, in fact, handle all of the kinds of data that pop up that I talked about before. My screen is flashing. Hopefully, no one can see that. Okay. Kind of weird. It supports any number of users editing together. Again, this is not news to probably anyone watching this, which is extremely important if you're talking about large data sets or data sets where the information is distributed across a lot of different people. It's free to use, of course. All of these things really do make it ideal. So why isn't it more popular? And of course, no offense to all the people who use it now and all the fantastic applications that people already have for it. I want to look at a company. I started seeing ads for them on YouTube videos maybe in the last year, so they sort of popped into my radar. I don't know if that's really the word. It's project management software. The company is actually based in Israel. Shout out to Israel. They were spun off from Wix, which is like probably even better known website creation tool. They have a $2 billion valuation. I don't know if that's still true, but as of the last venture capital infusion they got. So I was amazed to hear that. So there's a YouTube video. It's 5 minutes. I wasn't sure if I had time to show the whole thing, but I think I do now. That I want to show. So please, so hopefully this will work. Please bear with me.
There's a little box on the bottom you have to click to share the audio in addition to the video if you want to have audio with it.
Oh, okay. Wait, what? Where? Okay, where is that?
You're probably gonna when you click share, yeah.
It's weird. Now I'm not. Oh, here we go. Here for me, it's at the top. Yeah. Share computer sound.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. And let me know if you can.
This is Monday.com. This is Monday.com. It's a platform that teams use to manage anything. Literally.
You hear the video but not see the audio.
Oh, you can't hear the audio?
Let's start with the board. It's the
I
foundation.
hear the audio but I don't see the video.
As an
Is there a
example,
video as well?
show how a real estate agency uses Monday.com to manage the core of their business.
Okay.
First, add a row for each property in your portfolio. Then we're going to build our process. The first column we'll add is a person column, so we can see which agent is in charge of each property.
See this now?
Columns are the building. This is Monday.com.
See something? What do you
It's
see?
a platform that teams use to manage anything.
Hello.
Literally anything.
Yes, it's perfect.
Let's start with the board. It's the foundation of the platform. As an example, I'm going to show how a real estate agency uses Monday.com to manage the core of their business. First, add a row for each property in your portfolio. Then we're going to build our process. The first column we'll add is a person column, so we can see which agent is in charge of each property. Columns are the building blocks of your workflow. They are adaptable to any process, no matter the industry or business. Let's add a location column to see where all our properties are. A numbers column for the list price. A date column to keep track of the showings. And a status column to get easy updates. Then there are views. Views let you take data from your board and visualize it in different ways. Use the calendar view to see when your showings are, and click here to see all your locations in a map. Whoa. Filter rows by person, by status, or by any piece of data in the board. Bang! Another one sold.
Whoa, wait, stop talking.
What?
I'm not a real estate agent. I run a startup.
Okay, fine. You can also use it to manage your startup. Over 60,000 paying companies love using Monday.com because it's a platform that adjusts to your team's needs. Most people start with a main board to tackle one problem, but soon realize that Monday can support multiple departments. We see that Monday grows and spreads within companies and teams and becomes the go-to solution for every process or problem. For this example, we'll have 4 different boards. This is a classic Scrum iteration board. The data from the board can be visualized in different ways. So the Scrum leader, for example, could use the pie chart view to see the breakdown of the size of story points, or to see the progress of tasks. Just on a side note here, you want your dones to look like this, not like this, meaning you don't want your team to wait for 2 weeks to click done. Break your projects down and get everyone clicking done twice a day. It's addictive. This product feedback board is a real use case from within Monday.com. We've created an integration with Zendesk that automatically takes feedback sent in support tickets and posts those tickets here in Monday.com for everyone to see.
That's cool.
Choose the tool you want to integrate with, then we'll choose what action we want to happen. So when a ticket is submitted with content relevant to a specific product, it will create an update within that product's pulse. So now product managers can instantly see feedback about the products they're building. This is how Monday.com creates real transparency, not just by having the data somewhere, but by making it easily accessible to everyone. It's about turning data into action. People can now have a conversation about this and decide what to do. Monday.com integrates with your favorite services like MailChimp, Typeform, Jira, Twilio, Slack, Gmail, Dropbox, Google Drive, Google Calendar. These integrations make Monday.com a hub for the most valuable data in your organization. Integrations in Monday.com take data that was hidden in dark places and makes that data available to everyone in one clear place.
Less high level, back to my startup.
Let's take the HR department. They can manage their entire hiring process and keep candidates' details in one secure location. They can keep certain information private by hiding sensitive columns like conservative salary requests, but let the hiring managers see the rest. Samantha's not the right fit for the position? Don't worry, set up an integration that sends a rejection email whenever a status is changed to a no-go. So what's brilliant about automating processes is it takes away all of that wasted time on manual processes and lets your team focus on the important stuff. Monday.com is a space for team collaboration. So when the marketing team is working on the next video campaign, they can share their thoughts in one spot. No email chains, group text, or waiting on approval. Just mention relevant teams or people. Know that they've seen your post and get some love in return. You are in a playground of possibilities. There's a t-shirt shop that uses our forms feature to manage their orders and inventory. They created a form in the platform, embedded it in their website, and now every time a customer places an order, boom, it just appears in their board with all the details. They've also set up an automation that sends an SMS to a customer as soon as their order is ready. Hey look, a dashboard! Dashboards let managers get key insights and metrics from multiple boards all in one place. You build dashboards by adding widgets and boards to visualize the information that's most important to you. These can be broadcasted on screens around the office.
Also, there's llamas.
This video is coming to an end, and the message you should be taking away is that Monday.com is the easiest way for teams to manage anything. It doesn't matter if your team is 5 people or 5,000, this will become the core of your business.
Okay.
This is Monday.
Whoa. Okay. Okay. Can you see my slides again?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I hope that video was, I hope I wasn't being indulgent by showing a 5-minute video in my talk that's an ad for a sort of a competing software. But, I mean, obviously there are similarities here to Enterprise MediaWiki. Monday.com is more like a web-based spreadsheet than a wiki, and it has elements of the software. I know of elements of Trello, of Google Docs with the web-based forms for data input. I guess the first time I thought about putting this video in, I thought it might be demoralizing. It was demoralizing to me the first time I saw it, actually, because it does some things extremely well. But neither one is better between this kind of approach and Enterprise MediaWiki. I think it's pretty clear. Each one has major strengths and weaknesses. Note, for instance, that they don't show collaboration. I mean, it's very hard to collaborate on the Monday.com, whatever you call it, file, I don't know, data set. Nevertheless, both have similarities. They both have flexible creation of data structures. You saw that right in the beginning of the video. They both have table, calendar, and map display. They both have, of course, data entry forms. So, and in fact, if you took the, I was thinking about this while we're actually, if you took the Monday.com audio and put in, video of somebody using MediaWiki with page forms and these other tools, you could have at least somewhat of a seamless fit in there, till it gets to the part with the integration with other tools and so forth. So what are the advantages of Monday.com from our perspective? It's a lot easier to set up simple data structures. You saw it was just a drag and drop thing where you stick in columns and you're creating this table. There's a lot more hand holding throughout the process, it feels like. I don't think when you first start up Monday.com, you're just seeing a blank page or a welcome to MediaWiki thing, or the equivalent of that. And this isn't really a technical advantage, but there's a strong marketing focus on a single use case, which is project management. I mean, they could have focused on any number of things in their ad and in their general marketing. As we said, there's data everywhere, but they focus specifically on project management, and they have some project management specific tools, of course, but still their marketing is very coherent, I guess is the word. And I'll get to that later. By the way, Monday.com is not alone. There's similar software. There's Airtable, Smartsheet. Those are the two that I've seen advertising for. There's probably others. I don't know the relative size or popularity of these other products, companies. I've seen them all described as spreadsheet/database hybrids. There may be, I don't know if that's a common terminology or if there's some other terminology for them, but of course that makes sense. And you can sort of tell that just from the names themselves, Airtable, Smartsheet, that they have that fusion of spreadsheets and databases. So what can we learn from all this? That's really what I want to talk about in my talk mostly. Maybe development has been focused too much on supporting the so-called power users, and I have to apologize to everyone because most people, at least attending this in person, I think are what I would call power users, and not enough attention has been on supporting beginning users. And partly, I think that's due to a selection bias, which is, if you're just operating based on bug reports and feature requests, it's great. I mean, that's a great way to improve the software, but it means you're only hearing from the people who already understand the software and didn't get frustrated at the first step, or don't want to deal with all the complexities. And of course, that's not unique to MediaWiki or Enterprise MediaWiki. It's a general problem in software, and really, it's a general problem with any kind of product that you're putting out. So, from a technical aspect, what are some features that could be added that might be helpful to beginning users? Here's a little mock-up I put together. Potentially a wizard that shows up when you install one or more of these extensions like Pageforms, Cargo, Semantic MediaWiki. Just a wizard that shows up. I mean, MediaWiki already has some wizards. Well, there's an upload wizard. There's a few other. Visual Editor has something like this. When you first start to use Visual Editor, there's explanatory little pop-up windows that show up. So this might be good. I wonder how many people go to their wiki having set up all of this software and just have literally no idea what to do and just don't bother doing anything. So yeah, I don't know the first thing about creating a I guess JavaScript-based wizard, but just throwing out that idea. A better data structure creation tool would be good. I have screenshots for all of these. The standard one I think people use is called Special Create Class. It might be too basic. On the other hand, all the others may be too advanced. I have, where's page schemas on here? Can you see this? Okay. I hope so. This is what the page schemas interface looks like. It's, it's comprehensive. Coming in as a new user, I can't imagine understanding most or maybe any of it. Well, probably could understand some of it, but this is a lot to deal with compared to that Monday.com, drag and drop interface. And that could potentially be tied in with the wizard too. Another technical feature, undefined forms. it should be possible, forms, meaning forms that lack a form definition. It should be possible to have those using just what's in the templates. So you go to a page, the code sees that there's a template there, it analyzes the template, or maybe more than one template even, and creates a form to go with it. I think it requires the use of cargo, because cargo, unlike semantic MediaWiki, apologize for those who don't know about cargo or semantic MediaWiki, but cargo, unlike semantic MediaWiki, defines an entire data structure, and it also lets you define connections between one table and another, which would enable the creation of these kinds of undefined forms. It would be harder to do with semantic MediaWiki, I believe. I've talked about this before. I have a memory of having talked about it at least one previous conference. I think it's time to finally do it. There's a potential plan to have it as a project for this summer's Google Summer of Code. I'm doing something else instead, but I really do want to get this done in one way or another at some point soon. Yeah, simplified data structure creation. I mean, if you want to add a field to a data structure right now, you need to make 3 or 4 changes. Whether you're using cargo or semantic MediaWiki, you need to modify the form, the template in one or more places. With semantic MediaWiki, you also need to create a property for it. There's no reason from a theoretical data perspective why you shouldn't be able to just add it in one place. It may be achievable using cargo and Lua, or potentially using an improved page schemas that makes it easier to do. I mean, that was the whole initial idea behind page schemas, is you just define the page schema in one place and then create everything else based on that. It's not a very popular extension, but maybe just an interface improvement to page schemas could help bring that idea to reality. So that's the software improvements. Potentially we could use better marketing too. Well, definitely we could use better marketing, but here's some thoughts from the best book on software marketing I know, which is called Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey Moore from 1991, although he's made new editions with some new content every 10 years or so. And if you listen to my podcast, I mention this on a pretty regular basis. So here's a quote, paraphrased a little. Competition is, for many people, a fundamental condition for purchase. So coming from the early market, where there are typically no perceived competing products, with the goal of penetrating the mainstream, you often have to go out and create your competition. That's italics in the original. So what's he saying here? He's saying that, if you come up with some idea that's some completely new thing, that's great, but it's not that helpful from a marketing perspective, because most people want to know that there are, in fact, competitors. There are other people doing what you're doing. It helps them frame it mentally, and it helps give it the idea that it's not some crazy idea. It's a real product. So creating our competition is something we haven't really done. Well, collectively we haven't done it. Maybe some people have done it. From that perspective, far from being a problem, the presence of Monday.com and these other so-called spreadsheet database hybrids may be a great benefit to us, because we finally have competition. Even if it's not an exact match, obviously there are big differences. The fact that there is competition of any kind gives us both context and legitimacy. So yeah, it might be, I think it's definitely worth looking into calling Enterprise MediaWiki the Monday.com of wikis, that kind of thing. But let's keep going. Here's the other quote I wanted to include from this book. People are very conservative about what they let you do inside their head. One of the things they do not like is for you to take up too much space. This means they will use a kind of shorthand reference. if you don't make the choice to fill the space with a single attribute, then the market will do it for you. And in the book, he gives examples of, car companies. People have a sort of shorthand when they think of BMW versus Ford versus Toyota, that kind of thing. So tying those two thoughts in together, having competition and needing a shorthand, he actually has a version of what I'm doing here. His is actually a little more complicated, but the idea is you promote your software or other product by saying it's like this other thing, except for this one difference. And actually, just an aside, seeing this sentence structure reminds me of that part from the Monday.com video where they had a workflow tool that involved filling in underlined bits to a sentence, which was really cool. But anyway, unrelated. So what could that mean? So of course you can say Enterprise MediaWiki is like other wiki software, except it allows for turning the wiki into a structured database. What's good about that? Well, it's the obvious approach, and it's actually the standard one. I've said that a fair amount. Probably other people here have too. It's not ideal. The selling point is unclear. What does that even mean, a structured database? And maybe it's too big a jump. At that point, it's not really like other wiki software at all. MediaWiki or otherwise. Another option, Enterprise MediaWiki is like Monday.com, except it is free to use. I don't actually know the pricing of Monday.com. I read that it's expensive, whatever that means. Obviously, everyone understands the value of paying less, so that's very good. It's not necessarily true. If you're a consultant, this is not a great marketing strategy to go with, because, of course, you do want to get paid for the initial setup and ideally for ongoing support. And perhaps you're even selling MediaWiki, which I don't know. There's some questionable legal aspects to that as far as the open source license, but there are people who more or less do that. So fine, a variant of that. Enterprise MediaWiki is like Monday.com, except it is cheaper. And pros, again, people like paying less. Against that, for many organizations, quality is more important than cost. Though, of course, with the current global situation, at least over the next few months, maybe longer, this could become an increasingly useful and potent selling point. So I'm definitely not discounting this one. Enterprise MediaWiki is like Monday.com, except it keeps a version history of everything. Well, that's certainly true. And as we know, a version history is crucial for a lot of things. You can't have collaboration on data without it, really. I mean, you have to restrict it to, at most, a small handful of people who can modify a data set. They nicely glossed over that problem in the Monday.com promotional video. The con is people might not understand the benefit. Most people just aren't used to dealing with wikis for handling their data, so they don't really grasp how useful that is. I should have turned on Skype. Okay, I turned off Skype. I don't know if you saw that. Anyway, and this might be the last one. Enterprise MediaWiki is like Monday.com, except it allows for more complex data structures. It's certainly true. It's certainly useful. Again, they gloss over the fact that all you can really do in Monday.com, seemingly, and I think these other tools, is create individual tables of stuff. As soon as it gets to more complex things, like the kind of things that you use multiple instance templates for, it becomes untenable, I think. And that's extremely useful. I think I have yet to see a usage of MediaWiki with page forms and all that didn't at some point use multiple instance templates. It just you don't think it's going to be that important at the beginning, but it really becomes crucial. There's just complexities that show up that kind of thing becomes necessary for. And of course, connections between one, what I call table, you can also call it class or anything else, and another. Okay, we have an unexpected visitor here. Hi, Nina. Okay. Do you want my phone? Okay, you can take my phone. All right. What's the downside of that? Is complexity a good selling point? I'm not sure. I mean, it's really nice to just have a slick interface. And when people are buying software, they don't necessarily think about or want to think about having to deal with complex data. They like the fact that everything is very simple and nice and graphical. Is there a right answer among these, one of these or something else? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It would be nice to coalesce on one central selling point, if it's possible and makes sense, as Jeffrey Moore wrote in Crossing the Chasm. If you don't have a simple shorthand for your software, other people might end up creating it mentally for you, which is not ideal. Of course, on the other hand, different people who are selling enterprise MediaWiki, and I think some of them will be talking during this conference, who have rebranded it to one extent or another, can have their own selling points that are unrelated to enterprise MediaWiki as a whole. Whether or not you even want to call it enterprise MediaWiki, that's also an issue. You know, if you have your own product X that actually is MediaWiki with all these extensions, but you're just calling it product X, then you can just have any selling point you want. But even if you're doing that, I think it's useful to keep these kinds of things in consideration when deciding on your marketing. And that's it. I'll open it for the floor, I guess, for any questions or comments. I'm curious what people think, especially about the marketing stuff, but also about, potentially useful technical improvements for making things easier for beginning users, points of confusion, points of pain, that kind of thing.
So I see Joel has a question or has his hand raised.
Hey, Yaron. Yeah, I mean, one perspective I can bring to this is, you know, when we were acquired by Silicon Valley VC-backed firm, you know, a lot of that capital they have is really, a big majority of it is not spent on R&D, it's spent on marketing and messaging and doing UX and UI. And maybe it's a fool's errand to try to fight that fight using pure open source principles, because, you know, especially if the market, you know, they have all these messaging professionals and marketing professionals doing all these glossy videos and, you know, flying people and whining and dining them. So maybe what one thing we could do is perhaps take a playbook from Wikipedia, right? I mean, Wikipedia doesn't have a marketing department. Basically, the product sells itself, promotes itself by having a use case everybody can understand, publicly available. So maybe that's one thing that maybe we could attempt to do, is have like this is a showcase example of EMWCon in action. And then people start to get it when they start looking at it, and maybe you're not limited to that. It's like I said, except for why, you know, because as you said, you know, people have so much in this attention economy, people only have so much time. So that's my perspective. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Joel. Um, yeah, I mean, potentially a use case, potentially a I don't know. There's certainly a lot of good examples already uh, of enterprise media wiki in action, various sites. Wikipedia, well, Wikipedia is interesting because they very consciously began as an alternative. They had a competitor right from the beginning, which was Encyclopedia Britannica. Um, the idea was to create a free Encyclopedia Britannica. That was the entire goal, from what I remember. Um, so they, whether on purpose or not, uh, very clearly had a defined competition, which is very important. But yeah, that's my only thought and response. Yeah.
Alex.
Hi. So I think just having used MediaWiki for a while, and have other people use it, really smart people that I work with. But still, I think a lot of the complexity of creating wikis, editing it, like giving just like page forms and um, templates and things like that. People gets lost with all that nesting of the brackets, whether it's a pointy bracket or a square bracket and that sort of thing. And then the whole idea that it's a database, it's a form management, it's a knowledge management, it's everything. It's actually an incredible tool in the back end. And even the infrastructure of putting in extensions and all that stuff. I think it could be two things. One would be, the way it is now, I think, which is great for the folks that, can get into that complexity and nest all that stuff inside their head. But, if you're looking at, that example that you have with Monday, most users would really love to have, just do what I need to do. I mean, I think the user interface is dated in terms of, you update a page and save. If you look at modern websites today, it's very interactive. It's like, that Monday example, very colorful. It's rather intuitive. You don't need a manual or anything like that to use it. So, I mean, I could foresee an extension, for example, with HTML5 or JavaScript stuff that you don't have to click save, whatever. It's all interactive. You get updates right on the screen when somebody changes it. But I think all the backend stuff is already there. It's really just the front end piece, the API calls, responsive type of, designs that could adapt to mobile and desktop and that sort of thing, or even Alexa interface. I mean, that's all doable. I think it's really just having the front end to do this.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. I didn't even mention the pain of using wiki text and curly braces and all that kind of stuff. There's really no reason why at this point obviously, well, I shouldn't say that. Obviously, there are a lot of potential complexities, but for more or less basic use cases, there's no reason why people should have to know anything about wiki text, administrators or regular users. Yeah, and I agree that we could, in theory, have an interface that looks at least somewhat like that of Monday or Monday.com. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing I guess is in terms of data on the back end side, having standardized collection of type of classes and things like that. Like a person, you can just select, okay, do I want the contact? Do I want the address? At least you can unclick them and not have to like define it. So instead of creating it, you can unselect it because it's already there, right? I mean, the usual, what's the attribute of a person or something like that that you can create and like standardize it, data types and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah. Built-in classes would be great. Absolutely. And there are some packages based around MediaWiki that some consulting companies offer that have those. But it would be great to have some, some built-in ones.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
That's all I want to share at this time.
Okay, and we've got about 6 minutes left, and Darren has his hand raised. And then if there's anybody else who's been commenting in Zoom or in Zoom in particular into the chat who'd like to actually voice what they're typing, that would be great. But go ahead, hey, Darren.
Yeah, I thought this was an interesting approach, Yaron, and I liked how you used the Monday.com as an example of a product and how the kind of comparing and contrasting. I thought that was interesting. Although I've never heard of that tool before, maybe that was part of the point, but I think that's the trick that we've all struggled with is what is the analogy for MediaWiki plus all the extensions, all the integrations? Like, there's nothing really to describe it in those brief few words, and that's the really hard thing that we're trying to figure out. I think that media is an obvious option, but I'm growing more and more where I don't think that that's a good comparison. I think that if your organization uses the software for more of a static data set and most of the people are only going to view the content, then maybe that's fair. But I'm always trying to get more user participation. And most of the time when I ask someone, hey, have you used Wikipedia? They'll say, oh yeah, I've viewed it. But then if I ask, have they edited it? Like, most people say no, like, oh, I don't know how to do that, or I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. And I see a parallel in our use of Wiki. So it'd be, I don't know how you solve that, but that's one of the problems I see. And then just another thought to share is, I think one of the factors here that's making this challenging is that this platform, this collection of software, media plus everything else, it's not a single thing. It's more of a prototyping platform that allows people like us to create lots of different user interfaces and ways of storing data, and that is kind of the point of it. And to someone that's brand new, that's where they lost. I've really tried to learn more about how to order people in my group from just plain making simple contributions to the text or uploading a file. Eventually, like, how do you introduce them to a template, introduce them to those curly braces so they don't go running away? I think that's another key to selling all of this product and getting it more market space.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, speaking of Wikipedia, I didn't even put, well, you mentioned, editing, that people don't edit Wikipedia. I didn't even put, it's like Monday.com or whatever, but anyone can edit it as a potential marketing thing. Because I too don't, maybe I should have put it in there anyway, but I too don't think that's a big selling point. You can edit it yourself. Most people just don't think about that if they haven't experienced that kind of thing before. What was I going to say? The whole idea of it as a prototyping platform and all that is of course true, and you can do an enormous amount of things with it. But I think it's better to focus the marketing and user experience and so forth effort on beginning users rather than people who would be actually doing the labor intensive wiki text editing. My view is it's better to try to bring as many people in through the door, and then people will hopefully just discover themselves the additional capabilities and potential there, rather than trying to sell all of that at the beginning.
Okay, we don't have any more raised hands. Brian, do we have any questions or comments in the chats?
There's some from Zoom from Greg and Brian and Peter. If they want to voice it, I can read it. If not, if we have time to fill.
Do any of you want to raise your hands? Brian, why don't you just go ahead and read?
Okay, the question in Zoom from Greg Rundlet. The guided tour extension helps you to add inline JavaScript-driven help. That's one comment from him, and the other is, MediaWiki needs a 5-minute video to show you that you can use forms to solve simple problems. Most people don't even know that you can use forms with MediaWiki. So I guess another marketing question or comment.
Yeah, I didn't know about that guided tour extension. I'll have to look into that. It's absolutely true. Maybe all that's missing is a video. It's certainly possible. It would be great to have a slick video, any kind of video, really. But it'd be great to do. And people have talked about it for a long time. But if someone, I don't know how to do it and make it look nice. But maybe someone else does or wants to try it out.
And then just a comment from Brian Wolf in Zoom regarding the legality or comments about selling MediaWiki. But his comment is, selling MediaWiki is generally okay as long as everything you distribute with MediaWiki is GPL compatible and you follow the license. Gray area if you distribute it combined with any extension that is not GPL compatible.
That sounds right. Yeah. All right.
But emphasizing I'm not a lawyer.
Right. It's never stopped anyone before.
And final comment from Peter Mayer, also on Zoom. He feels it's usually better to emphasize features and flexibility, not price. So open source wins on flexibility.
Yeah, that could be true, and of course it depends on the organization to some extent. People prefer software that just works.
And one new question popped up in the EMWCon channel on Riot from Squeak. One of the issues I find with MediaWiki is the complexity. I have tiny MCE installed on all my wikis, but quite often I get errors in sporadic code. I would like to use Visual Editor, but as my server is behind a great big firewall, I have issues installing Parsoid. It would be great if Visual Editor could work without Parsoid. I haven't tried WordPress on my server at work, but something like WordPress editor would be great. These are way beyond my expertise to develop myself.
Well, I have different responses to that. I'm a quasi developer on TinyMC, or I helped out somewhat. So I think it works well. If there's problems, then hopefully those can get fixed and keep reporting them, I guess. As for Visual Editor, it's going to be easier to use in the future. I guess listen to this is going to be a big talk tomorrow about Parsoid. I think tomorrow, not sure. But definitely if you want to know about the future of Visual Editor, then listen to that talk. Or is it today? I don't know. One of these days.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to steal the guy's thunder, but there's exciting developments.